Give Alice a moment to get down here. So the tagline on the bulletin is the last verse from this gospel, which says that you have given me so that they may be one as we are one. So they may be one as we are one. This reminds me of the Three Musketeers when they said all for one for all. In fact, I used that slogan on the teaser slide out front on the slide on the sign out front in order to advertise this message. And this all drives towards this sense of unity in Christ, right? Coming together as a group, coming together as a team to work together, to cooperate together, to be unified in Christ's name. So we're going to talk about unity today. And that word unity, united, comes up a lot in our world. I mean, think about all the different words that have united in it. United States of America, United Kingdom, United Way, United Church of Christ. I think there's a United Methodist Church. I mean, you see united all over the world. United, we stand. Divided, we fall, and on and on and on. Despite the fact that we put that word united in a lot of our taglines and our slogans and our titles, we sure seem to have a poor track record with achieving unity. We seem rather divisive at times. And there seems to be, to me, there's an entire industry built around these motivational speakers and lecturers that go around to corporations and organizations that try to teach you how to achieve unity in your group. I have been on the receiving end of some of these motivational speeches, and they throw out these big taglines and words like you need leadership and you need vision and you need a strategic plan and you need buy-in. I mean, I've heard all these ideas that are thrown around. They're like, you got to do team building exercises every morning in order to build unity in your group, okay? And yet, despite doing all that stuff, you still seem to lack unity in your organization. And it's funny, I when I read this prayer, this is what this is, Jesus is praying, I find in this prayer the number one thing that is critical to achieving unity. Now, he doesn't say the word outright, but it comes across in everything he's saying here. And this is the most critical element in achieving unity in a group, and that is responsibility. Responsibility to each other. And you see that when Jesus says, Father, you gave me authority over these people. You gave these people to me, and I had authority over them in order to execute your will. And this reminds me of if you've ever been in the military, if you get assigned a unit, it doesn't matter, it's a squad, a platoon, a company, a battalion, there's a little ceremony in which the general says, take charge of this unit and carry out the plan of the day. And when he says take charge, he means take responsibility for these people and everything they do. You're responsible. You're in charge of them. You're responsible. And that's exactly what I hear when I read this gospel, right? Jesus was assigned to take responsibility for every single person. And he was responsible for us. And he's modeling responsibility to each other. And this is the prerequisite to achieving unity. When you're responsible for somebody, that means you can't ever get rid of them. They can mess up. You're still responsible for them. Right? So I can remember having a unit and the guy can mess up. He could screw up. I can discipline him. I can find another job for him. I can court-martial him. I can throw him in the jail. I'm still responsible for him. I still have to make sure he gets fed. I got to get a dentist there to check his teeth. I got to make sure he gets his mail. Right? I can't just get rid of him. He's mine forever. Just like Jesus. He's responsible for us. We can screw up. That's the whole point. He's still responsible for you. Responsibility to each other. This is the prerequisite for achieving unity in our life. All right? Now, if you move in the civilian world, I mean, we live in the quote-unquote the Donald Trump era, okay? And if you remember our current president, and maybe some of you don't remember this, he used to be a reality TV star. And I remember watching The Apprentice as a kid, and his tagline was, "You're fired." Okay? I remember watching this show, and I loved it. Okay, because it was fun to watch these people get fired and kicked off, okay? And that's very popular within the civilian world. My first civilian job, I learned all about firing people, okay? I worked at Penn Waste, the trash company. Anybody else here ever worked in trash? Yeah, it smells great, all right? Yes, I have worked in the trash industry. I was the day shift supervisor at Penn Waste, the recycling center. Okay, so we would take in all the recycling from the recycling trucks, and we would sort through it by hand. You have to sort through all this trash because like, you think everybody would just put recycling in the recycling can? No, no, no. And I know some of you are guilty of this. You throw other things in the recycling can that are not recyclables, okay? But the problem is if you put something in the machine that bails up and sorts out your recycling, it breaks the machine, okay? So these conveyor belts in the recycling center. And there's people who by hand, while all the recyclables go by, have to sort it by hand to make sure the contaminants don't go into the machine and break it. One day, there was one individual, okay, that in their recycling can decided to put a brake drum, and number two, they put an entire deer carcass. It was October, in the recycling can, and it was coming down the conveyor belt, straight for the big recycling baler, okay? This was on my shift. And the employee on that line was an employee, I won't say his real name, it'll just be close enough, was Daryl, okay? Now, Daryl was in charge of this conveyor belt. His job was to make sure that brake drum and that deer carcass did not go into the recycling machine. But Daryl was on his phone, okay? Daryl was playing one of those silly little games you can play on your phone, so he's doing this. And I watched it on the camera, the deer carcass and the brake drum go right past him, right into the recycling baler. Okay, and man, it sounded like a ping pong ball inside of a dryer, okay? It's rattling around there, smoke starts spewing out of the machine, the whole thing just starts shaking and it all shuts down, okay? Because the brake drum went in there and sheared every bolt, broke all the belts, right? Just destroyed the whole thing, all right? So we shut down the whole plant. And the best part is when we open the doors to go in there for maintenance, to go, essentially reset and clean up and fix the machine, the deer carcass, yes, the 3-day-old fermenting deer carcass got wrapped up in all those pulleys and belts, and you had all these guts and everything just strewn about. Now, let me tell you, if someone who works in the trash industry tells you something smells really bad, it has to reek, okay? It smells bad, and it was terrible. There were 30 people on day shift, of which Daryl was one of them. 29 people wanted to hang Daryl, okay? Because everybody was in there cleaning intestines and gook and broken stuff out of this machine. We had to shut the whole plant down for a day. Well, I was the supervisor, right? I'm responsible for Daryl. So I was like, Daryl, in the office. And Daryl comes in, okay? And he knows what he did. He's like, boss man, you gonna fire me? And I was shocked by this question. Because remember, my only experience up to this point was, I can't fire anybody. I've been in the military. You don't fire anybody. You reassign them. You find another job. And I was like, Daryl, we're not going to fire you. I said, but you are going to do some disciplinary action. I said, for the next 2 weeks, you're going to clean the bathrooms every day. And I said, I expect the bathrooms to be absolutely spotless. And here's a toothbrush, and you're going to scrub grout with a toothbrush. And I said, after that 2 weeks, if you do it well, we'll return you to the line, okay? Guys, the Penn Waste bathrooms never smelled better. I am proud to say that I revolutionized cleaning inside the Penn Waste bathrooms, okay? He even had the Dove, the little Glade plugins, and it smelled like a tropical, beach when you went in the Penn Waste bathroom. There was always the toilet bowl cleaner inside the toilet bowl, and when you washed his hands, Daryl would stand there with a paper towel and hand it to you. I mean, it was a full-service bathroom. Well, Wednesday, Sean, the plant manager, comes out and finds me, and he's like, hey, why is Daryl always in the bathroom when I go in there? And I said, well, I reassigned Daryl. I said, he's got to he got discipline, and he's going to clean the bathrooms for 2 weeks. And Sean's like, is Daryl the reason the plant shut down for 8 hours last week and we lost all that productivity? I said, yes, it's because of Daryl. And he said, why don't you just fire him? I was like, fire him? I was like, I can't fire him. I'm responsible for him. I said, he's going to do his time, and then he's going to come back to the line. I was like, that's how it works. And Sean's like, no, Ross. We fire him, and we find someone else. And I was shocked. This was just a massive, it was like getting hit by a sledgehammer to realize that in the corporate world, you just fire them and you get rid of them. I said, we can't. We're responsible for Daryl. He's doing a great job. He's trying to work back. You're going to take away his benefits and his retirement, his health insurance. And Sean's like, we're firing him. I'm calling HR right now. He said, have him in my office in an hour. HR comes down, and if you've ever, human resources, HR is like the Grim Reaper in the corporate world. When they show up, you know somebody's getting fired. And HR is like, I need a list of everything Daryl has ever screwed up on. I'm like, well, I'd also like to include a list of everything Daryl did right. Like, no, we're firing him. We're only going to say the things he did wrong. All right? So I walked Daryl into this office, and they made me do it. They're like, you need to get experience firing somebody. This was a vivid, I understand why businesses have to fire people, because they're in the business of making money. They're not in the business of achieving unity. But it left this vivid mark on me of having to fire this individual, of not being responsible for him, that we just kick him out the door if he screws up. And I had been raised in a world, right, previously to this, where you are always responsible for everyone. And I think of Jesus, who was responsible for everybody. He can't kick you out. He's responsible for you forever. That's how you achieve unity, okay? And I guess this is when I learned, in that moment when I fired Daryl, and it was a tremendously sad moment, because Daryl was just like, what? I've been working on the bathrooms. I'm like, I'm sorry, but you have to leave. It left this mark on me that I knew then I could not be in the business world. I don't think I have the stomach to fire people. It's too traumatic, okay? I feel this sense that you got to be responsible for this person. Again, I understand why businesses fire people. If you have this idea that you can fire people, get rid of them, split off, push them out the door, and that's the way you're going to achieve unity, you'll never achieve it. You're never going to achieve it. It's just like the kids' book. The only way you achieve unity in your life is that you feel this sense of responsibility to each other, that I got to get you to the finish line with me, okay? This rises us above this high school mentality that I got to like people in order to achieve unity. I got to love them. I got to be holding hands singing Kumbaya songs. That helps. That helps to like them and be cooperative, but it's not a prerequisite. The prerequisite is I feel responsibility to each person to carry them along with me, okay? And this is a little saying that I like to use. I've used it a lot in my life, which is the obstacle is the way. The obstacle is the way. And oftentimes, we look at someone who is not cooperative in our life, not helping, not being a team player, not assisting with the group, not working with others, doesn't have the same vision. We fight with them, we argue with them, and we think they're the obstacle to my group achieving unity. And if we just got rid of them, if we fired them, if we kicked them out the door, things will be better and I'll achieve unity in my group. And it's, guys, I can tell you, you do it once, you're going to do it over and over and over again. It becomes a cancer inside of your head. It grows. Because once you do it once, it'll become the default option in your life. Because every time you ever argue with someone or get in a fight with someone, you're going to say, oh, we don't see eye to eye and I got to get rid of them. And you're always going to default to that option because it's easy. It's easy to kick them out the door. It's much harder to drag these people with you within your organization to achieve unity. Okay? I can tell you from having had to do some life experience with trying to achieve unity with groups that this is my own personal analogy, okay, my own. It's like driving a bus, a passenger bus, and the bus breaks down at the bottom of a hill. And you say, hey, will anybody come help me push this bus up a hill? And only half the passengers get off the bus and are helping you to push this bus up a hill. And what makes it worse is the other half of the passengers still in the bus, they wind down the windows while you're pushing it up a hill and they complain. Why aren't we there yet? If I had been driving, we would never broke down. You're not putting your back into it. Can you push a little harder? We're going to be late, okay? And I can tell you from having done it, it takes everything, all of your willpower, not to just step back from that bus and give it a little shove back down the hill and watch it roll down the hill into a deep, dark ditch with the people complaining on it. I mean, let's be honest. It really does, okay? This is the truth about achieving unity in groups. Why don't you do it? Because you feel a feeling of responsibility towards every single person. You say, hey, I got to get everybody across the finish line. I'm going to drag this person with me, kicking and screaming across the finish line. Every single person makes it. I often think of Jesus. Does he ever kick Judas out? He knows Judas is going to betray him. No. Never does he? Stays a part of the team till the very end. Think about that. Think about that. He knows. He knows what Judas is going to do, but Judas is a part of the team because Jesus felt a sense of responsibility to him. That's what we're talking about with, hey, you don't have to like these people. You don't have to love them. You may even at times want to just really strangle them, right? You get so angry at them, they feel that rage. you're bringing them with you. Everybody's making it to the finish line. I can tell you guys that as much as you want to push people out, it's very enticing to do so. It's a cancer. I saw this myself in my last job. I had 5 girls who worked in the barn. 5 girls, okay? And last year, one of the girls started ticking the other 4 off. All right? So guess what the other 4 did? Oh, they ganged up on her. And they worked very carefully, even though she wasn't necessarily doing anything wrong. They talked to the owner, and they said, we got to get her. She's got to be gone. They said, she's breaking our sisterhood bond. She's interrupting our unity. Obviously, they never had sisters, because, I don't know, siblings fight, if anybody knows that, right? They got her fired. And I disagreed with it, because I thought the dismissal was on shaky ground. They got her fired. And they came to me. They knew I was upset. The 4 girls, they said, listen, Ross, I know you were very unhappy that she left, but you don't understand. She was a problem. She was preventing us from being a team and working together and being efficient, right? Like, you'll never have problems out of us ever again. And this is exactly what I told them. I said, which one of you is next? Which one of you is next? They're like, what do you mean? I said, give it 6 months, you'll turn on each other. The big fish will eat the little fish. No, we're a sisterhood. We work together forever. We're bonded, right? We'll never fight. 6 months later, 3 of them were ganging up on the 4th one and trying to get her fired. See how the cancer works? See, they indulged in it. I just kicked them out. Get rid of them. That's how I'll achieve unity. It'll never work. You'll keep doing it over and over and over again. The only way you achieve unity is when you drag everybody with you to the finish line. All right? Churches don't have a good track record when it comes to achieving unity, okay? And Paul knew this, right? If we go back to Galatians 3:28 in the early church, right? There's neither Greek nor Jew, slave nor free, male nor female. We are all one in Jesus Christ. Because there was a lot of fighting going on in the church. The reason we have all these denominations of Christian thought is because we don't all get along together. And even within certain churches, I think of like the Methodist church, they break off and create their independent groups, right? Because part of the congregation can't stand the other part of the congregation. And they always say the same thing. Well, if we split off and form our own little group, things will be better and we'll be unified. And it never happens, does it? It never happens. Okay? Even here in Chanceford Township, many of these churches were formed by large family groups. This quote comes from Joe Persing. When asked once why can not all the families get together in one big church, he said, the families can't get along. I remember it stuck in my brain, rent-free. It's so true. The families can't all get along. They can't achieve that unity. And they say, well, we're all going to go and create our own little group, our own little home. Okay? You never achieve it. We never achieve it. Right? The only way we achieve unity is to feel a sense of responsibility to each other. Does not mean you have to like them. Does not mean you have to cooperate. And does not mean you have to necessarily love them. But you feel a sense of responsibility to get them to the finish line with you. That creates unity. I'll leave you with Viktor Frankl. He was an Austrian neurologist. He was also a Holocaust survivor. All right? And he was once asked, they said, what unites Americans? Is it freedom, liberty? And he said it's none of that. The only thing that can unite Americans is a feeling of responsibility to each other. A feeling of responsibility to each other. And he said next to the Statue of Liberty, there should be a statue of responsibility. And that only when you embrace a sense of responsibility to every single citizen in the country, and you feel that sense of responsibility despite your differences, can you put the united in the United States of America. Amen.